Hi everyone, this is Melanie. How are you guys doing? Can you
Good,
hear me
thank you.
okay?
Hi,
You're
Laura.
okay.
Yeah, I can't hear you guys, so I'm gonna try to troubleshoot this for a minute.
Hi,
Hear us, Melanie?
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
It's
hear you.
Kathy.
Wait, I have a glare in my background. Let me just try to shut a shade. It's like really, it's like
Okay.
the light is coming towards me. Hold on. Let me go shut that. I'm in a different location. I don't have my usual spot.
That's okay. My camera is not cooperating today. It just shows a brown screen. I don't know what's brown, but I will spare you the brown square and just leave my camera off, sadly, um, because that's how my day's been going. Okay. Melanie, can you hear us now?
I can, thank you.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting and read the
Yep.
meeting notice. Okay, please be advised that on Wednesday, October 11th at 4 p.m., there will be a family engagement and communication subcommittee meeting held through remote participation via Zoom. The meeting can be viewed through Medford Community Media on Comcast and Verizon. Since the meeting will be held remotely, participants can log in by using the following information. So https://mps02155-org.us/j/988-574-68391. If you wanted to dial in, it's 1305-224-1968. Questions and comments can be submitted during the meeting by emailing me, Jenny Graham, all one word, at medford.k12.ma.us. If you are planning to do that, please include your first and last name, your Medford street address, and your question or comment. So I will start by calling the roll. Member Kretz.
Yes, sorry. Yes.
Member McLaughlin.
Here.
And Member Graham here. So we have 3 present, none absent. Our agenda was set forward to us per our unanimous vote of the school committee on May 1st of 2023. And it reads, whereas the school committee seeks to increase transparency and community engagement, and whereas Medford Public Schools has recently relaunched its website on a modernized platform that enables regular maintenance, be it resolved that the Communications and Family Engagement Subcommittee meet to discuss updates to the website that would promote family engagement, improve accessibility, and ensure transparency for all MPS families and residents of Medford. Be it further resolved that the Communications and Family Engagement Subcommittee will invite Ms. Lisa Miller and her students who work to launch the site and are currently working on plans for phase 2 of development. So that is our agenda. By way of background for everybody on the call with us, we had a presentation, I believe it was right before May 1st, from Ms. Miller and the students that worked on the initial phase of the website. And during that meeting, we talked a bit about what the sort of the ideas for what the next phase might look like of the website. And so we wanted to have this discussion to really talk about sort of what is possible. So Ms. Miller and her students are here, and I want you to introduce everybody in just a second. So we want to hear a little bit about what's possible and talk about what some of the ideas are amongst this subcommittee. And we're actually also thrilled to have Mr. Thomas Dalton with us, who has joined us as the Director of Communications on behalf of the district. So we're super excited to have you working with us on this as well. So Ms. Miller, did you want to, I saw that you sent me a presentation. Did you want to start by introducing yourself and the team here so that we can hear a little bit about the presentation you wanted to provide us?
Sure, and I'm Lisa Miller. I teach programming and web development at Medford Vocational Technical High School, and I am the web administrator for the Medford Public Schools website. I have a team of wonderful students, 5 of them, I think, looking at the board, the grid here, it looks like 3 of them are here today that are on the student website team. They are critical to the maintenance and updating and posting news on the website. I would like to let them introduce themselves. I'm not sure, I did share the presentation. I don't know if that would be useful for me to go through, or if you had more specific questions that you just wanted to jump right to, or if you wanted me to kind of go through the presentation also.
I think go ahead and introduce, have everybody introduce themselves, and then I think we would love to hear from you all.
Okay. So Carolyn, why don't you start?
Hi, I'm Carolyn. I'm the team manager of the website team. I just have to thank you for being here and work together with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh,
Rachel?
hi, I'm Tenzin Desel. I'm a senior and I'm also in computer programming in the website team.
I'm Rachel. I'm also a senior and also on the website team. Thank you so much for having us.
We are thrilled to have you. We love having students in our subcommittee meetings and at our regular meetings, but these are a little bit easier for people to get to, I think, if they have to go to bed and go to school the next day. So, Superintendent, I don't know if you wanted to say anything before we turn it over to Ms. Miller to do a presentation.
Yes, I just want to say thank you, Ms. Miller, for your leadership and for holding down the entire web, all the work that's on the back end on the website that we have, and working with the students who are doing fabulous work. I also wanted to share that I believe some of our students have had the opportunity to work with City Hall as well in the past. So I hope that that work is able to continue happening, doing continued web work. So I just want to congratulate them and encourage you to keep doing the wonderful work that all of you are doing. So thank you. I look forward to seeing your brief presentation. I also just want to recognize too, as part of the team, Thomas, who's working closely with all of us on the senior executive team side, helping us with furthering our communication. So I'm very happy for the collaboration and partnership in how we are working to communicate as clearly and as effectively to the entire Medford community. So thank you to both of you. Thank you. And I do believe Dr. Cushing made you a co-host, Ms. Miller, so you should be able to share your slide deck to just point out some of the key highlights of the work that you're doing.
Okay, great. Should I go ahead and start?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Let me. I have to say, it's been a while since I've had to share on Zoom back from the COVID early days. Can you see the slide presentation?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. Please don't hesitate to ask questions. I am going to go through this fairly quickly. You can ask questions along the way, comment, or wait till I'm done, whatever works best. And the students are available for questions as well. So with that, let's see if I can. Okay, so there is the website team. There's 2 additional team members that did not have a chance to introduce themselves. Sekou Koyade and Vasilias Tufas. They are both part of the team and part of the picture that you can see right here. It's a really great student team. I also wanted to just acknowledge that so the students are the ones that are and I do a lot of the page updates. So if the lunch menu needs to be updated or information on any of the pages need to be updated, the students do that. And then they also do some of the posting in the various news areas. But the additional posting is done by Thomas Dalton and for communications. He's been doing most of the posting for the school committee and district. And then each school has a person who is responsible for their local news as well. So I just wanted to give credit there. All of them are returning at the school level, except for Sarah Grant is new this year. I did want to just sort of as background information, I checked the Google Analytics on the site. I thought that it might be interesting just to kind of see how widely used the site is. I did this, it was a couple days ago, and it represents a 28 days previous, so a 4-week period. The thing that I'd like to point out is that on school days, typically between 1,000 and 1,500 people do use the website, the dips or the weekends. So we do have quite a large number of users, I think. Before the launch of the new website, the usage was very, very low of the website. It would kind of appear at a flat line down at the bottom. And then just sort of some of the most popular pages on the website, the home page for the district, School Brains is second. And the breakfast and lunch menu is always a popular item. And then things like the printable school calendar, staff portal, staff directory, athletics, and some of the school home pages. And again, this was for the 4 weeks leading up to October 8th. Some of the recently added items to the website have been, we've started using some of the social media feeds on the homepage of the district site. We now have the MPS Facebook account embedded. This is a screenshot of it. And so that's kind of the first of the embeds that we did. We also now have the Athletics X, or formerly known as Twitter or whatever it is, embedded within the athletics area of the website. I put the next one, Athletics Home Games weekly post, trying to work out what that's going to look like, but trying to promote the athletics program more. Students have taken a lead on that, and trying to just make sure that some of the activities around the high school and other schools are sort of posted about, promoted. And then another page that was recently created by the students is the CCSR page. They lost their website. We have a new page there, and that the students will be involved in creating a more complete website for the CCSR program. In one of the things that was my understanding about what you would like to kind of discuss tonight, learn about, or this afternoon, is language translations. And so there are language translations built into the website. Currently, the 5 languages that we support, through Final Site, we were able to purchase 5 language translations through using a module called Weglots. So we have Brazilian Portuguese, Haitian Creole, Arabic, Spanish, and French. You can see that in the screenshot is the superintendent's memo translated into Haitian Creole. I see a hand. Does that?
Member McLaughlin?
Thank you. Thank you so much. This looks really great. I just wanted to ask while we're on the page, where does one see the option for translation? So for example, if I am a Portuguese speaking family, I get to the website, where do I see that I'm able to translate it?
So it's down in the lower right-hand corner. Let me see. I'm not sure if it's going to let me change tabs. Can you see the
Yep.
When I just change, okay. So if you go down to the lower right and you click on the US flag that says English next to it, you'll see the languages that are available, and then you can choose the language. All the navigation is then, let me see if I can just switch over to there. So now it's all in Portuguese. So it is down in the corner. I think one of the things, I think your question is important, because we haven't really promoted this feature, and maybe that would be something that, as we think about kind of next steps, promoting, educating about this feature would probably be a good thing to do.
Thank you. Thank you, Member Graham. Just, I would agree. I think that's fantastic. I think it's wonderful. It's a feature I didn't know about, and one I definitely would want to share with families. So marketing and outreach for that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then I know another topic was accessibility. We do try to follow best practices for accessibility on the website. So what I mean by that are things like alt tags for images, so that if somebody's using a screen reader and can't see the image, there is a description of what is in the image, proper heading usage, so that screen readers can organize their presentation of the information. I have to say, I am not an expert on screen readers. I just try to follow the guidelines that I've learned. So my understanding is that the heading, proper use of heading is important. Topic in issues like color contrast, making sure that there's enough contrast between the different colors that are used in text and navigation. And making sure that important text, if it is in an image, that we also duplicate it. And so the reason that I picked this particular screenshot for this slide is the unified basketball schedule came to us as a PDF that wouldn't be automatically translated or screen readable. And so we took the text out of that and put it as part of the text of the news post, so that it could be screen read and that it could be translated into the different languages. Sometimes we will post a graphic that is kind of nicely designed. Maybe it's a dance announcement, the neon dance is coming. They have a really colorful graphic for that, but we'll make sure that any information such as, the date, the time, the cost, that kind of thing is also in text, so that screen readers can't read the text that's in an image. And so that allows screen readers and translation to have access to the text that's important for that particular post or information. And we know that there are still issues that need to be addressed around accessibility. So there are PDFs that we have and we post that are not translatable or screen readable. Images that contain important text. Again, I did say that we do try to make sure that in our posts we pull out the important information. We have not fully tested the website using assistive technology, screen readers or other assistive technologies. I think that would be, I would love to invite somebody into the classroom and who uses assistive technologies of any kind and talk with them, learn about their experience using the website, let them explore the website, learn from them, and possibly have some like a screen reader accessible to us, so that we can also just when we create a new page, what would it what would it sound like to have it read to us? So those are some things. We're open to suggestions. We know that this is still an area that we have we could improve upon. And I think part of that is the website, but part of that also is the materials that we are given to put onto the website. So that's a kind of a two-sided coin there.
Mm-hmm. Member McLaughlin, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you. No, I think this is really great too, and appreciate your thoughtfulness and the students' thoughtfulness about this. And I'm really excited about it. For the alt tags for images, if you could just demonstrate how that would work, that would be really helpful at some point. And then regarding the testing with the assistive technologies, I think that's a fantastic idea, and would really encourage working with the high school transition program and the team there. And I'm sure that they can support. And also Easter Seals is super supportive with assistive tech, and I'm happy to connect folks. But I think having more than one self-advocate navigate and sort of work even, with your team to help them understand how a person with a disability navigates a website would be fantastic. And as far as the screen reader goes, I think that's definitely something that's a great idea too, to be able to listen and try it out yourselves. But, with the incorporation of a self-advocate, I think, or more than one self-advocate, I think would be great. And, I'm happy to do a little bit of research on the screen reader if you're interested, but would you be able to demonstrate an alt tag?
An alt tag is really, it's something that's inside of the website. It's not something that a user would see. So it's a little bit hard for me to demonstrate it. What it would be is that if a screen reader encounters an image, the alt tag, there's an image tag that puts an image on a page. The alt tag would say, photograph of two students playing soccer or something like that. And so instead of being able to see the image, the screen reader would read the text that's in the alt tag. I can't really show it at this
No,
point.
I understand.
but-
So it's basically, it's coding then for the
Yeah.
screen reader to read it. Okay, that's great. And so with somebody with a screen reader can, sort of go over that and it would read to it. That's helpful explanation, especially for lay people who are listening and people like me who haven't used alt images or alt descriptions. So that's super helpful. And I think to your point, Ms. Miller, about uniformity around submissions is a really good point, especially when it comes to accessibility and ADA and language and what have you. So thank you for that food for thought.
Thank you. And thank you for the resources. And if you do have any information on screen reader suggestions or recommendations, please let me know. And I think reaching out to the high school transition program is a great idea. So thank you.
And Ms. Miller, I will also check with my team here at work. We do a lot of build of e-learning content. And when you build those kinds of resources, particularly for use in state government, the agencies are typically very interested in making sure there's 508 section 508 compliance, which is all the things that you're talking about. So it's making sure that anybody who is needing to use that resource can access it. And the sticky part about 508 compliance is that it is in the eye of the beholder. So there is no set of rules that says yes, check, this is 508 compliant. What you can do is you can sort of test for the things that are the most common. Nope, 508. So it's a set of standards that govern the sort of digital publication of material. And one of the things that state agencies grapple with certainly is when they're providing these kinds of whether it's websites, whether it's e-learning, what have you, that they sort of have to take a best effort approach to cover as many bases of best practice as they can. And then if there are individuals who require something particular, then the goal is to individually meet that person where they are, because there is no standard for what you need to be able to access the information. So a lot of times when we talk about 508 compliance, there's sort of rules of the road, like you talked about, making sure a screen reader can read alt tags, and that takes a whole body of work, right? To alt tag everything, really be thoughtful about PDFs and things like that, color contrast, et cetera. There are guidelines that sort of get you there, probably 90, 95, 96, 97% of the time. And it's this website certainly sets up all of that very nicely. I think to the sort of point in conversation around the information that you're receiving, I do think there's probably an opportunity for us to communicate these best practices in terms of what you need and how you need it to make life easier for everybody who's going to post things. So, I mean, Tom is going to know these things, you're going to know these things, but somebody who's like, hey, can you post this on the website? Here's a flyer. Even if they're able to give you here's the image and here's the details, that makes it easier for you. So I think there probably are some standards to think about as we talk about next iteration that would be helpful for the team to put together to say, hey, if you're going to give us information, here's how we would like you to give it to us, and here's why. Because people would never, most people would never think about how would I describe this photo? I'm looking at it, right? And so that's a body of work that has to happen in order to make this accessible on an ongoing basis. So I think some of those sort of ideas around like how you want to receive information would be really sort of helpful for all the people that are trying to feed you stuff. Tom?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Member Graham. I'm glad that you honed in on this idea of having consistent expectations for how this content should be coming in.
Yeah.
And that's something we're already working on with our principals, with our subject directors and coordinators, and with our posting designees, making sure that everybody has clear expectations about what kind of information is needed to add something to the website. And that's up to and including thinking about these accessibility best practices that Ms. Miller outlined, and that we know we still have a lot more work we can do on. But it's definitely a major priority, because when we think about consistency of our content and our content being useful and accessible to all members of our community, we're very interested in really prioritizing these matters of visual accessibility, of other kinds of disability accessibility. So it's a huge priority. It's something I think that we're still developing all of the parameters for, but definitely top of mind for us as we're instituting these processes for developing this kind of content.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that so much. I mean, this is such an evolution from where we were not that long ago. So we're like zooming light years ahead, which is really exciting to see. Member McLaughlin?
It is exciting. It's been a banner week with the disability awareness event, and this. It's just I'm so happy to see all of this. And also, just to that point, I know that the superintendent is working with the New England ADA organization and the executive director there on matters related to accessibility. And I'm sure that they would also be a great source of information for accessibility and websites. And there was a grant written around some of this, and I don't think it just pertains, as some people might think, it's regarding physical accessibility or other. It includes, all accessibility, and the website would be included on this. So there could be, if the grant comes through, there could be some additional funding to help with this too, which is always the bottom line, right? Is where's the money coming from as well. But and regarding the students and all the work that you guys have done, I think you have great material for your resume and for your college applications and being able to share this. So thank you so much for all the hard work that you've put into it. And please don't underestimate the value of talking about the accessibility when you're sharing the work that you did on the website, and how you made it both language accessible and individually accessible. I think that's super important in your applications too. So thank you.
Ms. Miller, I think, do you have some additional slides? We'll stop interrupting you and let you finish your slides.
No, I'm happy to hear the conversation. This is great. I don't really have a lot more, but I do have a little, and this is a rather big page. So thinking about possible phase 2 items. Really building on the accessibility should also be here. But thinking about ways of including more social media. We do have the ability to embed 20 social media feeds. We're using 2, as I had pointed out earlier, with the district Facebook and the athletics Twitter. We're currently thinking that each of the schools will have a Facebook page, a Facebook embed on their main page. And we're thinking about Instagram. I think the students support the idea of Instagram as being an additional social media feed that might be more appealing to the students. At kind of a bigger topic about how we are going to move forward with social media, Thomas has been great in helping initiate some of this and helping us think about it, both in terms of what we want to do, as well as some of the guidelines around social media use. So that has been very helpful. Staff directory procedures. This is really about, we have 800 employees listed in our staff directory on the website, and having some streamlined systems for keeping that directory up to date, making sure that I'm getting the information about new hires, titles where they, school location, department, and as well as when somebody leaves, making sure that I get the information to remove them from the website so that staff directory does continue to be up to date. So that's a little bit of a challenge, and it's more of a kind of a logistics challenge, I think, but something that I would like to see addressed. Library module, currently we're using an external website called LibGuide for the high school. And we would like to bring a lot of those resources that are particularly student oriented into the Final Site main website. And just this week, we've heard from the Andrews middle school librarian saying that she would like access for her students, easy, accessible resources for the middle school students. So we will be working on that also soon, and having that built into the website. I think the staff portal needs some attention. It's not awful, but really when we were launching, it fell to low priority. Really the community outward looking website was more important, was prioritized, I think appropriately so. But I think a little attention to the staff portal, thinking about what information is there, how better to organize it and present it would be beneficial to the staff. We have been looking at ways of adding additional online, or we're not looking at it yet. We're open to adding, I should say, more online payment forms. We currently have online payments for athletic user fees and AP exam fees. We also used online payments for summer school payments, and I think that went really well. But we do have this ability, and so thinking about additional uses for the online payments. We've talked about with the students having an interest in possibly establishing more of an internship definition for some of what the student website team does. A lot of the vocational programs have internships or co-ops the senior year, and maybe thinking about the student website team more as an internship. So maybe exploring some possibilities there. They contribute a tremendous amount, and thinking about how we think of them and label that kind of role, and kind of thinking about that, I think would be a nice part to something nice to include in phase 2. And then also thinking more about student focused content and resources on the website. What are the students looking for? The students shared some good ideas just yesterday with me. If they wanted to address, I'm not sure if they want to say anything about that, or if I can just say it. But I'll say it, and then if you guys want to add more, how about that? So 2 of the areas that came up were additional information about clubs and activities, how to get involved more, when clubs meet, all of that kind of stuff, as well as additional mental health resources. So those were 2 categories. I don't know if the students want to add anything to that.
Oh, about like the clubs and like the stuff we want to like add to like the website. I guess like we just want like the clubs to be more like relevant on the website, like how I'm in like a couple clubs, but like the meetings usually get like flipped, like you usually get like a random day and they don't like announce it or whatever. So we kind of like want it like the website to be a bit more like club focused, where like there's more information. Also, I don't remember if this was mentioned, but maybe more like mental health resources on the website to like help students.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
And in terms, and I would love to hear more about what students are looking for. I think that it has potential to really provide information and resources to students. I think that, and that's an area that I think we're a little bit weak on right now, and that there's a lot of potential for growth. And, really we're open to suggestions. This website is for the community, all aspects of the community, whether it's students, family, staff. So we're very open to suggestions. And then just a little more, just to make sure that everybody knows that a piece of all of this is that there is a mobile app that is available right now. I took this screenshot. You can see the top event is on the news is today's meeting. So the mobile app is available. It does show calendar events, news. It has access to the lunch menu, school brains. I want to make sure that we kind of keep the knowledge that this is a piece of the website. It draws directly from the website. There's nothing additional that we do to maintain the mobile app. It pulls directly all of the information from the website. So if we add a post to the website, it automatically becomes available on the mobile app. It is there. It is in the Play Store and the Apple App Store. There is one issue on some phones with being able to select the high school as the location you would like to filter on, because we have such a long name. It is doable, but it's a little bit, I don't know, it needs to be improved. But we haven't, I think that there's been some information that's gone out about the mobile app, but it hasn't really been pushed a lot. There's been, it's definitely been included in the superintendent's memo, if I remember correctly, but I just wanted to make sure that that was not forgotten. And then the last slide I have, the last two are really just thank yous. And I just wanted to thank the school committee, the administration. Diane Caldwell's not here today, but she's been really taken the lead on so many aspects of the website development. Molly Layden, Director of Technology, Thomas, who's here, and then the posting teams, the student website team, and just everybody. It's been a team effort. There's been a lot of people involved and have helped to bring the website to where it is now, and we'll continue to make it better as we go forward. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Member McLaughlin, did you have a question?
Yeah. What is the name of the mobile app? Is it just Medford Public Schools?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I think when we brought this to the school committee, we definitely were interested in exploring a little bit more about phase 2. And so and there were a couple of things that sort of piqued my interest as you were talking, and that I've heard about. And actually I invited Miss Perry today as well, because I think couple things that we've heard at the school committee over the course of this last year is that some of the athletic teams are they're sort of out there on their own for a whole variety of reasons, sort of managing their own websites where they're sort of posting all of their community, right? Like their track results, their information for teams, et cetera. One of the parents on the track team brought that to my attention, that the track coach was sort of maintaining this website on his own at his own expense. And I certainly don't think that we sort of asked him to do that, but I imagine that he did it at a time when our website was really not very functional, and he wanted a way to sort of provide all of that. And so that to me was one of the reasons why I invited Miss Perry, is because I think all of the athletic teams and to Rachel's point earlier, our extracurriculars all have potentially the same sort of use case and need to be able to have a space that can sort of live underneath the auspices of our overall website and be nimble and easy enough for people to post, right? And but still informative, so that we don't have, and one thing that does concern me from a sort of security perspective is we don't have people out on all kinds of websites all over the place posting information that may or may not conform to sort of the guidelines that we would use to manage our own internal website. So one question I think I had for this group from a phase 2 perspective is is there an opportunity to take that as a body of work around athletics and the extracurriculars and figure out really a process by which those pages can exist, and it can exist with the right parameters and controls in place. And I wanted Miss Perry to be here for sure, because obviously there are some tentacles there with athletics. So I would just be interested in any thoughts that the team has around whether that is something that's viable for us to be thinking about as part of a phase 2.
Sure, I can speak to the athletic piece. So we have what we call our school today and our scheduling, our registration site. We have team pages where I post all of our scores, all of the rosters are there. So that's all of that information is housed there, and it is linked from the our final site to our athletics pages. The only thing we really don't have is a specific page where we have news from our athletic activities. For example, maybe doing a highlight of, thank you for bringing that up, maybe doing a highlight of certain games, or doing a highlight of coaches, or a highlight of students or captains. So maybe having a specific athletic news page where we can kind of do some of those things. But I think for at least the scheduling piece, the rosters, the scores, all of that stuff is kind of housed in that our school, where that is also linked on that side. Yep, that's the schedule that you see there. And those are all linked. So when we have registration open, for example, winter registration will be open in a couple weeks. We have students that register for hockey. That signals our activity scheduler to say, okay, kids are scheduled for hockey, let's post that hockey schedule. So it's all kind of intertwined. And when I do rosters, I pulled from the registration site, the kids that registered for hockey, I pull that over to the hockey roster. And then that all gets pushed over to our facility scheduler. So like I said, it's kind of a big web there. But for our need, I would definitely say getting that news out. I do ads on Twitter every week about our upcoming games. We have pictures of our students. Thank you for bringing that up. That was actually the crew team just had a meet on Sunday, so that was their information. But I try to do, or I do every week, you can see boys freshman soccer there. We do ads and we push that out to Twitter. I also send it to coaches so they can push it out to Facebook and so forth. But that's what I have from my end.
Thank you, Rachel. I guess one of the things that I don't know a lot about from a final site perspective is whether there are integrations available that would make some of these connections easier so that everybody can sort of work in the native place that they work. And it doesn't have to be like so labor intensive to sort of move information to final site. So in other words, like, does final site have some sort of integration that would work with, is it our school, where all of the athletics work is happening, and then is there some like more integrated way on the back end for the website to organically take the information that is being populated and managed in our school, or whatever it's called, on the athletic side? So I didn't know what kind of integrations were available with final site that we should be thinking about taking advantage of. And those always are like sort of meaty projects that would definitely, to your point of like internships and things like that, those sort of lend themselves to that kind of thinking a little bit more.
And I will say that Final Site does provide an athletics module. They do say that they have integration. I'm not sure. When we looked, it looked like maybe they were almost there, but not quite there. So it might be something where in the future that integration might be a little bit cleaner. I think it's something we need to stay abreast of and keep an eye on what Final Site is offering. It is an additional fee. I forget what it was, but it was like $5,000 a year or something for the integration. I'm not sure, but it was in that range, plus or minus some amount. So it is something that we've looked at a little bit, but looking at, after talking with Rachel and trying to understand more about the complexity of scheduling, rosters, facility management, all of that, Rachel can say more about that. It became clear that the current tool, what Final Site was currently offering wasn't quite there, but we are optimistic that could be a future thing. But we're also looking at ways of like the page that we're looking at right now, where we are able to, Rachel updates the Twitter feed or X feed or whatever it's called. And then we're able to embed that on the website. We've been looking at ways of, highlighting, promoting home games. I like Rachel's idea about highlighting, teams or coaches or players. So kind of, I think the idea of maybe an athletics specific news might be a nice idea. So I think that there are definitely things we can do, and hopefully eventually we could move toward that more integrated kind of module, using the module that Final Site provides. I'm not sure if Rachel has anything to add to that, but that's sort of kind of where I feel like we landed when we've had this conversation.
Yes, I agree. I think there was a couple of things that wouldn't really be transferred over. So we were kind of waiting to see what would happen if they could, do that in the future. But I totally agree. I think maybe, wait to see what happens with them. And then if it can be integrated, then we do that. I think what was happening too, with our school today, you can actually load all of the schedules onto a Google Calendar, right? So I think that's but we couldn't go the other way. So I think that was a glitch too. Right, Lisa, if I remember.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yes. I'm not 100%, but that sounds right.
Got it. So, and maybe the right sort of implementation approach is to start with some of the clubs and activities that don't really have a presence right now, and work out sort of how that can work, whether it's like students who have access to post on behalf of their clubs, or that's something the advisors do. But I would imagine, like, as you do that, there's some like rules of the road that come out, right? In terms of how to make it as effective as possible. And then maybe like the next phase could ultimately be like, when this integration is available from an athletics perspective, we sort of bring the rest of the athletics teams along that same pathway that we've worked out with the extracurriculars.
And I will say that Final Site has really a lot of different levels of permissions, and we, like, let's say we did say, okay, students for different clubs could post on like a clubs board or something, it's really easy to set up where they wouldn't have access to anything other than just that one, board that they could post to, so that we don't open ourselves up to a larger number of people potentially having access to other areas of the website that we just, for security reasons, we don't want everybody to have access to.
Member McLaughlin?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Yeah, and I think to that, I think those are really great points, Member Graham, in terms of the phase 2 and thinking about the integration, and also the groups that are not represented. And in addition to that, to Thomas's role and sort of all of this, as well as sort of the uniformity, and be able to create some standardization and standards of some of this. And so, for example, we have approved and required a non-discrimination statement for all signups for any activity of the life of the school. So, whenever there's a form that goes out to sign up for an athletic event, or to get tickets for a dance, or, any of those things, that there's a non-discrimination statement that says, Medford does not discriminate on the basis of all the things that we don't discriminate on. And if you need accommodations, here is the path to, request accommodations to participate. And that, again, was going to be out 9/1. And I think that, just with the start of the school year, it's been a little bit delayed, but that's coming, and it should be uniform on everything that's the life of the school. So I would imagine, maybe that's part of Thomas's role in some of this. If not, I would like to know whose it is or whose it would be, just in terms of uniformity in messaging or approval, I guess, or something.
Yeah, definitely part of my role, Member McLaughlin, and actually just circulated a memo with building principals this week, reminding them that that should be included on all the appropriate web pages, and most of all on flyers and sign up forms for events, to affirmatively remind that we offer all reasonable accommodations to anybody who needs them for any event. So yeah, that's
Excellent.
that's an important point and something that we're definitely on top of.
Excellent. Thank you. And if that could be added to the phase 2 of the website as well, that would be great. I know I did a search on it the other day and it hadn't happened yet. So I know that you guys are working super hard on it and I really appreciate all the effort. So and Member Graham, I'm sure you're thinking of this, but just sort of wondering if there'll be another FCE meeting regarding phase 2 or, the implementation of phase 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think the goal of this meeting was for us to have some discussion about the options for phase 2 so that we could, bring that update back to the school committee for sure. But also, understand whatever we sort of think through and give Ms. Miller and the project team some time to think about like what it will take and to do various things and what they might need from us to be able to do those things. So I think there's some work on their part and then we can reconvene. So what we might do at the end of this meeting is continue the meeting to a date in the future, and then we'll sort of pick it up at a point, probably, maybe even after the new year, I'm not sure, depending on, some information that, depending on how much work there is to do to really think through those next steps. Two other things that sort of were on my mind as I thought about the website in general. One was around payments of all kind, and whether there's really like a sort of I'll say a single unified venue for payments to Medford Public Schools. And I think the answer is no, or maybe not yet. But is there like a single place where you could go and you could pay for a lost library book, to add money to somebody's school lunch account, to sign up for athletics, to pay for whatever the things are, right? That money flows into our school district from families. And so, maybe in the bigger picture, I would want there not to have to be money that flows into the district from families. But in the meantime, is there a single place, and does Final Site have capabilities there that we should be exploring as part of phase 2 in terms of all things payments? And certainly when we talk about payments, security becomes a really big part of the discussion. And I will admit that I have some agita around our payment processes sort of across the district, because I just don't know enough to feel like each and every one of them independently is, sort of rising to the level of the kind of standards that you want to see in place when you start taking money. So I didn't know what kind of capabilities Final Site had, what we're using, what we're not using, what the options are, and how do we create like a single place for people to go when they have to do something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll start with just kind of my first thoughts. So we do use Blue Snap through Final Site to handle online payments, and we've been using them for things like the AP exam payments, summer school, and the athletic user fees. Each of those has very unique information associated with the form that they need to fill out to make that payment. So, what sport are you participating in, or what AP test are you taking, that kind of thing. And so I think that having separate forms is how we've approached it so far. I guess I'm trying to think how it could play out where you had a more universal one. I can't envision it right now, but I might, with more thought, maybe something would come to mind. I could also just see having a page on the website that was like kind payments, and it just had a list of all the things that we did accept payments for that you could kind of click on, and not have to go say, okay, well, wait, where's that at AP payment? It's down over in student services and testing and then AP, and maybe somebody's having a hard time finding it. So if there was like one universal place that all payments were listed, something like that might be an easy step. Step one. So I don't know.
Sure.
Those are the first thoughts that come to my mind. I see Thomas raised his hand too.
Thomas?
Yeah, thank you. Something along those lines is employed on a lot of municipal websites. I live in Malden, and in Malden, you can go to cityofmalden.org/bill pay, which is a link I'll share in the chat also, but it does basically just list out all the different kinds of bills that the city might send you and get you. In the case of Malden, they use a third party bill service, but there are options like that, like Ms. Miller said, to just set up a page that lists out all the different things that you might pay for and link out to all those different forms, because as the presentation showed, there is a really complete form for athletic sign up that lists all the different sports for each season and which ones you're paying the fees for. There's a good list of the AP exam options and all the different things you might sign up for. So it might just be a matter of setting up a kind of landing page to link out to this stuff.
Yeah, I think that could sort of get us a good portion of the way there, honestly. So I don't necessarily think it needs to be like, when I'm thinking about one-stop shopping, I think the thing that I'm thinking about the most is like the security required to safely sort of take online payments, that we don't want to be managing like many modules of software that's taking in payments. So if everything is able to sort of coalesce around BlueSnap, then we know, and your team can make sure that like we've properly like worked with somebody who's a security expert around payments, that we feel like good that they have all of the controls in place from a BlueSnap perspective, and then everything is flowing through there. And so that makes sort of life simple. And if there's a simple landing page for parents like coming in and saying, how do I pay this thing? It could be just as simple as like those two pieces sort of linking together. And I think that would be like a great next step in terms of like providing some accessibility. And I don't know if there are other things that are like operating outside of BlueSnap, but certainly like trying to like pull them all into one place. Certainly you can pull them all into one place pretty easily, but also like on that back end from a like cash management perspective, and our CFO would probably, need to weigh in here, but how do we create like financial controls over the money that flows through whatever these tools are as well? So that would be like, that's one of the things on my mind. Ms. Perry, did you have your hand in the air?
Yes. So quick question for our pool. Right now, for membership to the pool, we are taking check or money order. It would be great if we could do something online. My only issue is, or thought would be, there's a lot of different memberships. So if you're a Medford resident under 58, it's $120. Seniors over 58, it's $50 for 6 months. If you are not a Medford resident, it's $150. Is there a way through this website that we could allow people to sign up for memberships, but they would have to prove their age, like show a license or something like that? Does that have that capability?
Not to my knowledge currently, but I have not fully investigated that either. So again, that's something I can put on my list of things to do, is like verification. I do know that for something like the AP exam, we do have a little checkbox, like a little radio button, and they can say if they currently receive free or reduced priced lunches, then if they click that button, the prices change on the page. So that's the honor system. And I suspect I think that there's some checking by the guidance department on that. But that verification, I am not aware of. This is sort of self-reporting. I'm just kind of bringing this up as I'm talking. But again, I can look into that. That would be something that I could investigate.
Thank you.
And I-
When I make a check now, I can see the address, so I know where they live. So
Yeah.
it would happen.
Right. Well, and I think, this could be sort of a great meaty little project for students to sort of sink their teeth into, because it's a little bit, it's bigger than just the web development piece of it, but it's really about how you make websites useful, right? So you would make so many people happy if they could pay for their pool registration online.
And you being one of them.
But like to your point, like if we have to have a way to like have these checks and balances, like what can be done to create something sort of manageable and approachable that allows that to happen too, I think is, a really great question.
Yeah. So just what I have displayed right now, just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. This is for the AP exam payment. There's a little radio button here that says if they do receive free or reduced. If they say yes, all the prices after the exams update to be $15. And that's kind of how Blue Snap works with the forms, is whatever payment is associated with what they check, that becomes, they can add them up. If they're doing 3 exams, it adds it all up and then leads to a payment page after that. So
Got it.
that's
Okay.
the example.
Member McLaughlin?
Thank you. Yeah, and I just wanted to get back to the language accessibility issues that we were talking about in the beginning, particularly regarding, outreach and thinking about that. I just want to put a bug in folks' ear about the cultural brokers and using, city side. I'm assuming, maybe I shouldn't assume, but I would think the mayor would welcome the opportunity to work with the cultural brokers to really help them get the word out about the website. And then also, I think there's an opportunity to look at the interpretation line. I don't think that the school has an interpretation line, but I know the city side does. Is the school, do you know, Dr. Edward Vincent, is the school accessing the interpretation line?
When interpretation is required for meetings, we work with Paul Teixeira, our director of EL. So we do have interpreters available for specialized meetings that do take place. I want to say it's with Bay State interpreters.
Right.
So,
but I'm talking more about like if a teacher needs to call or if a family wants a teacher to call them, and I know that they have talking points, but perhaps, or a school committee member to call them, and their family is, primary languages, again, say Portuguese or Haitian Creole or something, does the school have access to the city interpretation line? So, we have an interpretation line at my office. It's a great tool. We're able to call a third party who then, creates a party line, gets the third person on the phone and then interprets between the two languages. And it's been really fabulous in terms of relationship building and really being able to reach families. So it sounds like we don't know the answer to that question, but
we do have interpreters, Member Graham. We have Mr. Bonbon, who is
sorry, go ahead, Member Graham.
So I just want to be mindful of the fact that we are sort of under the requirement of the open meeting law, and we really shouldn't be talking about things that aren't officially posted. So I think this is a great conversation, but if there's a question about the website, I think we should continue to answer that question. But I think your question is a little bit different than about the website. Am I right, Member McLaughlin?
No, actually, thank you for asking though. It's about having the language line on the website. So, but I can investigate further in terms of access. And to the superintendent's point, I understand we have interpreters, superintendent, for outreach, for specific meetings or what have you. We don't necessarily have those for, individual phone calls or outreach from school committee members or sort of those things that a language line provides. So my question is, I would assume the language line is a citywide access language line, in which case that means that the school can access it, in which case that would mean that it can be shared on our website. But I would like to confirm that.
Yeah, and I don't think you can assume that because it's a city resource that the schools have access to it. There's some particular laws, regulations, whatever, rules, whatever, about sharing of resources and how those things actually come to pass. So I think checking in on that first makes sense. And then if there are phone numbers that can be used to sort of access this, making those numbers available on the website makes perfect sense. But I think that needs to be sort of vetted before we can make the ask that it goes on to the website.
Agreed. Thank you very much. That's exactly the point. Thank you.
Great. And then I think the other, so two other comments that I had sort of on my agenda. Parents were invited to something that the guidance office was doing, like coffee with the guidance counselor or something like that. And in the context of that invitation, there was another website listed that was like mhsguidance.com. Hold on, let me get the exact website because I wrote it down. I was like, I have to remember to bring this, medfordhighguidance.com. And so I think my question would be, is like another phase 2 sunsetting the independent guidance website, whatever it might be. I don't know. I haven't been there. But I would imagine that we would want the good work being done in our guidance department to be front and center as part of our website.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that that link is still there. That is an old link. That site doesn't exist any longer, and we have moved all of the content over to the final site website.
Oh, that's great news. Okay. Perfect. Because I saw that, I was like, how do we keep finding websites that are sort of like out in the ether here? But it is hard to sort of unwind them. So
maybe more likely that it was just an artifact that got moved over from an older version of an invite accidentally.
Yeah.
It is
perfect. So to the point of some of the discussion we've had so far, I think the other next step that would be really great is something that officially describes for the public what's on the website, what it's all about, that the website appears is available in 5 languages. Like, I think people would be so delighted to hear that. And I don't think we've done a great job of describing all this good work outside of school committee meetings, of course. But I also am acutely aware that school committee meetings are attended by a very, very, very tiny fraction of the population. And we have, 4,000 odd students that come through our doors every single day. So how can we sort of push out a more formal communication about what's on the website, what's available, how to access it, that the app exists, like how they work together, et cetera. So I think a lot of really good work has been done that we need to promote. So I think that's like another sort of maybe next step or phase 2 type of item. Yeah. And then sort of the last thing on my mind is really around some of the information that gets posted and shared about our school committee meetings. So one of the things that we did as we passed our first school committee set of goals, I think maybe ever in the history of Medford, was talk about a desire to translate our agendas into multiple languages so that they are more accessible to our families than a simple English posting would be. And I happened to notice, Dr. Edward Vincent, that the last handful of agendas did include links, if I'm remembering correctly, that were translated, but
Yes, you are accurate. For the regular meetings, we in September, that was like the deadline that we were given. So we started translating all of the regular meeting agendas with the hyperlinks in the header, so that just similar to the way the Friday communications go out, the translations are also available.
and I that's great news. I was so excited to see that. I did wonder though, it looks like somebody is like essentially having to hand translate them, much like they do with your weekly memos. And I'm not sure if that's true, but it looked so similar in structure to me. And I just wondered if there was a better way to make use of the website if we were to post our agendas a little bit differently than we do, so that they're not PDFs, because PDFs can't be translated. But if there was a different way for us to post school committee materials to the website, would that inherently sort of avail us of the translation services that are available through Final Site and make the process of all of this translation a little bit easier?
That would be, I think that's a great suggestion. I would have to defer to Lisa or Thomas, like to say, if we get the content possibly in a different way, would that be possible?
Thomas, you had your hand in the air. Did you want to?
Yeah, you were reading my mind, Member Graham. I think
I'm
I
doing
think
it
exact-
soon, but I'm also checking Janice. So at 5
Ms.
minutes.
Caldwell? Oops, can we? Oh,
Got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. That if we just move away from linking to a PDF and instead include the text of the agenda in a news post, the existing translation and accessibility tools on the website would automatically be covering what we're doing there. And we've moved in a similar direction on the superintendent's memo. The main reason we still include the Google Doc translation in the superintendent's memo is because we often share the Google link when we send out the text version of the text message version of the memo in the weekly updates. But yeah, if something's on the website, we don't need to separately translate it because the built-in translation plugin handles it.
Right. And so I think, that I think would be a great other sort of next step. I know we gave you like 25 next steps in phase 2. So you can sort of put all those in a hat and shake up the hat and figure out like what makes the most sense from a implementation perspective. And, Carolyn and Rachel and Tenzine and the other folks that are on the team certainly probably have a lot to say about the work that's required and the work that they are going to undertake. So I would certainly want to defer to you all to think about all the things that we've talked about. But I think this like school committee, this idea about using the website as sort of a way to power some of the objectives the school committee has around accessibility and translation. If we can get that right with the agendas, could we get that right with the minutes? And could we get that right with some of the other materials? And so I don't want to boil the ocean necessarily like right out of the gate, because I think that is where good projects sort of fall apart. But if we could start and try with the agendas and get a process that works, like, is there like a next thing and a next thing and a next thing that could build there? Thomas?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's exactly the direction we should be headed. Because what I love about working with our website is that we own everything that's on our website. The downside with is that if Mark Zuckerberg pulls the plug on Facebook, if Elon Musk pulls control over that content, and that's up to including making sure that everything we put on there is compatible with the different tools that we have plugged in. And I also noticed Member McLaughlin's question. Yes, the meeting minutes are online. That's per the open meeting law, that we publish all of the minutes online after the committee approves them. And like the agendas, yeah, maybe there's scope.
Yeah, I was going to say in Word format or are they
posting them in a
PDF?
different format. So they're
Right.
PDFs currently. And so maybe that's something we look at changing so that they're edited by the website.
Member Graham?
Member McLaughlin?
Yeah, and to that point, I think that's great. And I think these are, and again, not putting too much out there on folks all at once, but I think that, these are great, but if we don't get the marketing and outreach out to the folks who need it to know that it exists, right? I mean, first things first, I'm so glad that we're even, doing this and thinking of it. And I want to make sure that we're really thinking about how we're getting the information out so that people know that it actually exists. So thank you.
Great. Eunice.
Folks, welcome back. A quick question. I try on a regular basis, as I'm sure you've seen, to keep people informed as well on everybody's behalf, and posting the links and so forth. And occasionally I'll try and post, the entire agenda or a part of the agenda. And I find when I do it with the city council, the city clerk sends out his agendas in both a PDF and a Word format. So I can either very easily just cut and paste the entire Word document agenda and share it out, or maybe I just want to highlight a specific resolution or something that I think will be of interest to the community. And so it's easy to pretty much copy and paste, 4 or 5 lines. But when I go and do it with the school committee, it ends up kind of all running together, and then I have to go in and adjust spacing and so forth so that it's readable. I don't know if that's because it's PDF or what, but I'm just curious why that is. And, for anybody who wants to maybe highlight a part of the agenda or even the whole thing, as opposed to just copying the link, there must be an easier way. I don't know if any of that made sense, and I
Yeah.
apologize if I'm putting it in a spot in the discussion where it doesn't belong.
No, I think that's actually a great point, Eunice. Because what we don't, we follow all of the rules that, sort of keep us in compliance and make us consistent with the open meeting law and the posting requirements of the city, we're actually still a physical posting city, which is a whole other topic. But when it comes to making people aware of what's on the school committee agenda, that's a different matter entirely. And I don't think we do a great job at that today. And so people like yourself, me, if there's something on the agenda that people, it happens sort of organically, which isn't a problem. But if there was a posting on our website that we could sort of point to, link to on a regular basis, then it becomes easier to sort of put that posting in a whole variety of places on our website, in various local pages and whatever. And then it becomes easier to link to from the superintendent's Friday memo and all the other places we're communicating from, so that people have a better chance of accessing that information than they do today. I think the other thing you sort of highlighted, which is not necessarily a website thing, but it's certainly a communication thing, is that there is some sort of service happening by the city clerk, who is, in all transparency, paid for a specific job that he's doing. And this is part of his job responsibilities, is to get the word out about the council meetings, right? He sort of works on behalf of the council exclusively. But he has, over time, I believe, created a mail list of sorts of people who want to get those things in their email box. And it's not the everybody, but the people who say, hey, can you put me on your list? And then it goes out on a weekly basis.
Exactly.
We don't have something
I get
like
that every Friday.
Yeah, we don't have something like that yet in Medford Public Schools. But I think that's another question probably for Tom to think about in terms of communication and like, how do you start to manage like essentially like sub-interest subscriptions, right? Like I think that's what we're talking about. It's different than like everybody getting the superintendent's weekly memo. It's like people who want that email in their email box signing up and saying, please send this to me, on whatever the interval is. And so I don't know if Final Site has some sort of like connectivity that would make that easier or promote that. But I think that's some food for thought that might address some of the comments from Eunice. And Tom, I see your hands in the air.
Yeah, thanks, Member Graham. There are a few things certainly where we're always interested in making sure that the meeting postings for the school committee are accessible widely. The actual formal open meeting law posting of the meetings, although we prepare the agenda in central office and get it sent out, the city clerk does actually handle the official posting on the city website and the physical posting at City Hall, which my understanding is that's what actually constitutes our notice of the open meeting law. But we also do other things. We've started to work on the integration between Final Site and our district Facebook page. So if you look at the Facebook feed, you'll see that when I post a school committee agenda on the website, I'm typically pushing it to Facebook also, so that that's available to people. We typically have the agenda for the next week's meeting in the Friday memo from the superintendent linked. So yeah, it really is that idea of creating that core piece of content that goes on the website and then figuring out all the different useful ways we can point to it and link to it and drive interested folks to it. So the email thing is certainly another idea that we could consider exploring.
Great. Lisa?
Yeah, so I also just wanted to add that we do post all of the meeting announcements for school committee, the subcommittees and the regular ones, and any other news you would like on a school committee news board, what they're called in Final Site. And people can subscribe to that board and get an email whenever somebody posts on that board.
Wow, that's great. I did not know that. I have we have our own like mechanisms where we get those things, but I get asked somewhat frequently, like, how do I make sure I can get these things? That I've never really had a great answer. So when we talk about like what the website can do and communicating about that would be a really helpful example for people who may want that. And then it might be a little bit easier for people to get to.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's true of all of our different individual news boards on the website. So if a family at the McGlynn Elementary is interested in getting email updates on McGlynn news as it gets posted, that's also available.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I did not know that. So we only have a few minutes left. I feel like we talked about a lot of potential things that could be phase 2. And I didn't know if there were any other questions, Ms. Miller and our student website team, whether you had questions for us that we could answer for you while we're all here together. And I think my other question would be whether there are other sort of priorities that our students have that need to be sort of discussed and prioritized as well. And if you had questions for us about those.
Okay, so we had like one, it's kind of big, so it doesn't need to be like fully answered now. But I was talking to like kids last year who worked on the website and like the people this year working on it. And we kind of want it to be like at minimum like an internship, because we feel like programming doesn't have a lot of opportunities for high schoolers. So we feel like this, along with this is a big ask, I do admit that, to maybe even get paid, because we feel like this is a big job. It's like very professional. It's stuff that typically like adults with sometimes bachelor's degrees have to do this job. So we feel like it could be, if having it at least be like an internship would be really good for us. We understand this is like a big question though. So it's okay if like you guys can't immediately answer this now.
No, Rachel, that's a great question and a suggestion. And I don't have an answer for you now, but I do have maybe some other questions for the superintendent and for Ms. Miller. Like I think we're not that versed in what it takes to sort of create an internship type role that meets like the educational standards, right? That your shop needs to sort of adhere to, right? Because we would want to make sure that if we're going to go down this road, that there's actually all the requirements are met. Because I know that the in vocational education, there's all kinds of like rules and sort of rules of the road that have to be complied with. So I think my question for the superintendent and Ms. Miller is whether there's something that you need from us to sort of pursue that, or if that's like a takeaway that you can take and consider how we might be able to sort of formalize this into an internship role. And I mean, I think the possibilities of like the kinds of things that we need are somewhat endless. And certainly, year to year, there could be, lots of good stuff going on there. So Ms. Miller?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as
I
well,
had a question too, Member Member Graham.
Okay. Ms. Miller, did you want to go first?
So just quickly, so there are two different types of work for seniors in the vocational school, co-ops and internships. I think there are more rigid guidelines and requirements for co-ops. The internships are a little less strict. And I think that I could work with Chad Fallon on trying to figure out what exactly would be required for an internship. We did have one of our students intern at City Hall last year. And so we have that as sort of a basis to build upon.
Great. Superintendent?
yes, and I just wanted to comment that I definitely would need to bring in Mr. Fallon into the conversation, but also from an equity perspective, I really would just want to say, like, as I think about all of the vocational programs, from robotics and engineering to our CNAs to our to automotive and construction, craft labor, depending what year students are in and what they're doing. I just feel like it's a much bigger topic because you could also have shifts in students selecting different vocational programs based on the compensation. And like I'm just saying it, like in culinary, and everyone's learning different crafts, different trades in every single area. And we do have to look at it on a case by case basis. But I would really want to have Principal Fallon involved in the conversation and really just think about how doing something like that, how it would impact any of the other programs. So I just want to say, I think it's important for students to definitely get real world experience, but I wouldn't want it to be something where we end up pitting, not intentionally, but unintentionally, one program against another. And so I just wanted to put that out there because I support all of the programming and all of the different opportunities that students have to learn and creating those co-op experiences where students do get to go out into the field and receive compensation for it. So I just want to put that out there because we need to have a lot more people at the table to have a meaningful discussion.
Sure. So, and Member McLaughlin, I think you had your hand in the air as well.
Yeah, I did. And I know this is not on the agenda for the, for the internship or what have you. So I just want to be mindful of that as well. And I guess I would just say to the students in particular, I think it's always really good in terms of just policy and a policy memo and drafting anything like that to demonstrate like how many hours you've put in, what that's looked like, and what would a comparable rate be in the community for that, right? So that you're talking numbers in terms of, what you've actually done and what you've saved the school from paying and the hard work that you've done and, all of those things. So I would really encourage you to put that material together as this is being considered as well.
Yeah, I think that's actually a great suggestion in terms of like thinking about how this becomes potentially a more formalized thing that could continue one year to the next, is to like actually just, you know, sort of make a proposal and a business case for the district to consider. And I think to the extent that superintendent, you need or want members of the school committee at the table in this discussion, we certainly can do that. But I would assume that by and large, like this takeaway is for you all to sort of think about and report back to us on. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Motion to adjourn?
Is that a motion to continue?
Oh, motion to continue. Yes, thank you. To January, can we say the first meeting after the January break?
You back when a representative is available. To request a callback, press 1.
Is that a second, Kathy?
Yes, sorry, I'm in another meeting, sorry.
Okay.
That's okay. Okay, so we have a motion to continue to the first meeting of the new year, and a second by Member Kretz. So I'll call the roll because we're on Zoom. Member Kretz?
Yes.
Member McLaughlin?
Yes.
And Member Graham? Yes. 3 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. This topic is continued. And so we
Thank you,
look forward to talking to
everyone.
you again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.